Hi there, how's it going? The Father showed me something about stars and angels, and I wanted to share it with you. I don't know how familiar you are with Scotty Clark's channel. He has some amazing teachings, and one of the things that he pointed out, and I give him all the credit, is that there are chapters in the book of Revelation that are parenthetical. And the more that I have studied and come to understand where he's coming from, the more I see he's right. But I wanted to show you something that I see in just the one chapter that we've kind of been focusing on for a while, which is Revelation 12. And I actually see parenthetical groupings even within the chapter. Kind of like when you're watching a TV show and you see this one scene happen over here, and at the exact same time back at the ranch there's something else happening. I see that going on in Revelation 12. So I wanted to read a couple of verses in 12, and then I'm going to reference Matthew and Luke. So here we go real quick. Matthew 12. I'm sorry. The book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 4, it says, and this is talking about that other great sign, the dragon with the horns and the heads and the crowns. Verse 4, he says, and his tail draws a third of the stars of the Shamayim and throws them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth. And then let's kind of scooch down to what looks to me like, first there's verse 6, which like blinks, back at the ranch kind of thing, blinks to the earth, where it's talking about the woman fled into the wilderness. And then it comes quick back up to the Shamayim again, and it says, verses 7 through 9, it says, and there came to be fighting in the Shamayim. Michael and his messengers fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his messengers fought, but they were not strong enough, nor was the place found for them in the Shamayim any longer. And the great dragon was thrown out, that serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who leads all the world astray. He was thrown out to the earth, and his messengers were thrown out with him. And then it's, there's celebration in heaven and there's woe on earth. Well, let's go zip back over here to Matthew 24 real quick. I'm going to read 29. And immediately after the distress of those days, and the sun shall be darkness, and the moon shall not give its light, and the stars shall fall from the Shamayim, and the powers of the Shamayim shall be shaken. And go quickly over to Luke 21, verses 25 and 26. And it says, and there shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars and the earth, anxiety of nations, in bewilderment at the roaring of the sea and agitation, and men fainting from fear and the expectation of what is coming on the earth, for the powers of the Shamayim shall be shaken. So these are all talking about the same event. The powers of the Shamayim are coming to earth. Even it says it pretty clearly in Matthew that, where is it there? The darkening, okay, and the stars shall fall from the Shamayim. So let's go back to Revelation 12. I wanted to point out something, that this is what the Father showed me this morning, that verse 4 happens before verse 5, but verses 1 through 5 is talking about one event. It's talking about what's going on between the woman and and her pregnancy and the dragon. Verse 4 says that the dragon drew a third of the stars of the Shamayim and cast them to the earth. Now we know that this isn't going to be actual stars. Duh, that would annihilate the earth. It's very unlikely that it's asteroids. It sounds like stars in reference to angels, angelic beings. We know through other places in the scriptures that Lucifer has a third of the angelic hosts in rebellion with him. And I want to point out that verse 4, these angels, Satan himself casts them to the earth before the male child is born. Then it goes back and it kind of expands it from verses 7 through 9. it talks about Michael going to war against him, Satan, and Satan does not prevail. And then Satan and his horde are actually cast out of heaven altogether, cast to the earth. So the first time, in verse 4, Satan is the one casting the stars to earth, almost like a point guard. It's almost like he's sending forces to earth before the Nehetef, the Harpazo, maybe there to catch us as we go or try to distract us so that we, get in the flesh and try to trip us up. I don't know. I mean, use your imagination, your heavenly imagination. And then there's this battle, and Satan loses, and he and his messengers are cast down. It almost looks to me like he divides his forces. He's only got a third of them anyway. But it looks like he divides his forces. Some of them here on the earth trying to get us. Some of them in the Shamayim trying to fight with Michael. And they lose. And then the whole lot is cast down here. And I've heard it said from L.A. Marzulli. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's really great. He's into Nephilim and alien deception and all of that. He keeps saying when they come down, we go up. And I'm seeing in these chapters that they come down before we go up. I don't know if it's a second or a minute or an hour or a day or a week or who knows. But it looks a lot to me like the stars come down from the Shamayim before we are caught up. So I wanted to point that out. I'm very blessed for it because greater is he who's in me than he who's in the world. And we are on the victor's side because our victor is Jesus Christ. Hallelujah. I hope that blesses you. If you have any comments or insights, lay them on me. Let's see what happens. Talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.